All right, guys. I hope you like the story "Lather and Nothing Else" by the Colombian author Hernando Reyes, written in 1950. I like it 'cause it's got a lot of suspense in there. It's really short. It's got a nice little twist at the end. So I hope you enjoyed it, at least a little bit. I don't always put where the author comes from when I do this. Usually I put the year. I think sometimes that's important, but I think in this story, because it talks about revolution and war, and there's some details in there that sound a little bit different from our world, that it was important to know that this guy's from Colombia, and he's not only a fiction writer, he's also a journalist, or he was also a journalist and a fiction writer. He's passed away, and so a lot of his writing is informed by what he was doing on the news side of things when he was writing for the news, right? And things were just happening in his country, like it was Colombia, war torn. Um, a lot of rebellions, fractured government, all these things happening. And so his writing is very much informed by that. And knowing that going in might help you understand the story a little better, or at least not be as surprised by some of the things he mentions. All right. So just like with the other clips, we're going to start with talking about character. Um, no matter what movies or stories you like, whether it's action or sci-fi or romance or fantasy, or comedy, like you always want to know what happens next. And if it's sci-fi or fantasy or action, you might be like super into the setting, like, oh wow, it's really cool. It's in a different world or a different time period or whatever. But it always comes down to the characters and the choices the characters make in that. Like, I really can't think of a movie or a TV show or even a book where I was like talking about a particular scene and wasn't talking about the character. It's like it always start off with like, I can't believe that character did this, right? Or I can't believe that happened in the end. I can't believe that's how that character handled it. Because characters, a lot of ways are like mirrors into us, right? They resemble us in some ways, or people we know, and they're just examples of what it means to be human and how crazy, messy, beautiful that can be. So let's look at these characters, and we're going to do this with a couple different questions and really dive into what's going on here. All right, so the questions are: how would you describe the barber and Captain Torres? So the barber, in my opinion, he is conflicted because right, the whole story mainly is about what he does to Captain Torres. This man has killed several people in the rebellion, and he's done it rather harshly. And he is a part of the rebellion, the barber is, and now he has him in his chair, and instead of giving him a shave, he could easily cut his throat, right? And kind of get vengeance for all the people that he's killed. And he's very conflicted about that. What should he do? Should he do that or not? In the end, I think he's a noble guy, right? He's a moral guy. He's decided that um, murdering isn't worth it, and he'd rather not be a murderer than to do that. And he's kind of an average guy, right? He's a barber. It's his shop. And I think it does say he's the best barber in the town, but still, he's not like a guy of tremendous power, like Captain Torres or like a king or anything like that, or a superhero. He's just an average guy trying to do his job. And then the last thing I noticed about him is he's risk averse. And by that I mean, like, taking it would have been a huge risk to kill Captain Torres, and he doesn't seem to want to do that, right? Um, so these are the things I noticed about the barber. You could have said similar things with different words, or you might have noticed some different things about him that I didn't notice. That's okay, right? We're just trying to like figure out how we would describe these characters based on what we read. All right, the other guy, the soldier, Captain Torres, I think he's ruthless. They talk about not just killing one or two rebels, but the ones that they caught, they're going to kill all of them. The way they do it is very graphic, very violent, right? It's like it's not like they put him to sleep peacefully, right? It's very warlike situation. I think he's a bit cocky, right? Especially when we find out at the end that he knew that that the barber might kill him, that he's part of the rebellion, and he takes his life in his own hands and so yeah, whatever, I got this. And that also means to me he's a risk taker, right? I don't know about you, but I'm not so sure I would get close to somebody who has a blade who might want to kill me. Gonna stay away from that. That's just me. I'm risk averse like the barber, but this soldier, Captain Torres, is definitely a risk taker, and he's a man of power. And by that I mean, as a captain, as someone in charge of a military who can kind of not just set maybe the laws in that town, but enforce them and enforce them with violence or things punishable with death. He's definitely a man of power, right? So those are some of the things I noticed about these two characters. All right. The next question is, what archetype might Captain Torres match or follow? To me, the one he most likely resembles is the ruler. So the ruler is someone who wants to maintain peace and order and make sure that the laws are followed at all times. Now, those laws may not be moral. They might be that particular character's laws, or they could be the laws of the land, and they could be just laws. They could be laws that are good and moral. Um, but the laws are the laws by the interpretation of the ruler. Okay, and he wants to do that, or he or she, that character, the ruler, wants to do that at all costs. So to me, Captain Torres is the ruler because the reason why he's striking out this rebellion, all these rebels, is to maintain order in the town or in that area. So, and it might sound ironic, and it might sound hypocritical or messed up that he is going to use extreme violence to create order, but that's what he's doing, right? I have to stomp out this rebellion in order for us all to be finally at peace, and he wants to do that at all costs. Um, he has power over a group of people in some way. That's very much true, right? Um, he is got power of these people because he's the captain and because he can use violence as a means to discipline them and to scare them. So totally has power over them, right? Emotional power, mental power, because he can scare them, and probably physical power with the violence piece there. He's I don't know if he's a parent or not. We don't know that, but he's a group leader, right? He is a king, so he's in charge of a group, charge of a group of soldiers, and maybe even kind of the unofficial leader of that area. All right, and we know all these are true based on the text evidence, right? He's a captain, so this proves he's a leader of men. People are under his leadership in the military army. We know that he's ruthless and that he is on the side of order because it was rebels that they killed or murdered, right? These aren't just quote unquote innocent people. These are people that went against the rules or the government in that land. And so he is punishing them and not just randomly. Now, whether we think that's right or wrong, it's a different conversation. He's following the laws and the rules of that land. Right or wrong, that's, like I said, that's a different debate. Okay, so these two things kind of prove, these two pieces of text evidence prove that he's part of that ruler archetype. Okay, and his physical appearance also kind of shows that as well. So they said his beard was stubborn, hard, and dense, right? His beard is rugged and tough, just like his personality is, right? So there's some symbolism there in how he physically embodies that harshness, that fierceness, that coolness. So, and the strengths are powerful, an authority, has resources, definitely has resources, right? He has the military at his command. Some of the weaknesses is he's disliked by others. We definitely see that. There's a rebellion here that dislikes him. The barber is thinking about killing him, so that proves that people dislike him. Might be out of touch and cruel. I definitely could probably argue out of touch based on how he's talking to the barber, or maybe he's just cruelly teasing him if he knows that he's part of the rebellion, kind of pushing his butt to see whether or not he's going to react to that. And cruel. Now, I don't know if the captain is completely evil, right? He's definitely ruthless. But at the end, he says, at the end when we find the twist, he tells the barber that killing isn't easy. I know what I'm talking about. So to me, that's a really interesting quote to end on from the captain. Killing isn't easy, and I know what I'm talking about. So in my mind, what he's saying is, this is just one interpretation. There are others, but I would argue that he believes that the killing is hard, and he may not even like to do it. He may find no fun in it, but he believes that is the key to order and peace overall, and making sure the laws are followed. Back to this up here, right? This is his main concern, and if he has to do an awful thing like killing these people, he's willing to do that not because it's fun, but because it'll overall bring peace to the world. Okay, so that's why I think the Captain Torres is most likely the ruler. You might have seen characteristics of other archetypes in there too. That's fine. That's great. Always bring those into the conversations. Or you might think he's a complex character because at the end he says this, and there's a little twist there that he was willing to put his life at risk. Those are all great conversations too. I encourage those, I invite those. But that's my take on why I think he's most likely like the ruler.